Yo, welcome into the dive bar. Are we ready? This is the perfect day to be in the dive bar. We got so much to talk about. We got Mike McDaniel. We got Chris Grier. We got press conferences. We got Tyreek Hill drama. We got the season ending kind of on a sour note. We got a lot to talk about. And if you're in the dive bar, you got to drink some pops. Eric, hit it.
I'm putting the helmet on as always.
The opportunity is right now.
Terrific defensive play. Intercepted. Tagovailoa off the block. Tua on the move. Going deep. Speed race. He's got Hill. He's got Hill. The Dolphins have recaptured the lead.
He nailed it.
Darlington.
Guys,
That
it's
is the
officially
greatest
shit show
intro. Greatest intro we've ever had, buddy.
I lost my mic a little bit, though. I hope it wasn't too much.
Oh, no, it
Oh,
sounded
no.
fine.
Okay.
It sounded fine. We had a couple crackles, but listen,
Yeah,
I think we should just run that every single episode.
Well, we got to redo it then if we're going to do that. We got to the crackles.
You can just come back every week. No, I'm just kidding.
Mhm.
I think
Well,
we
what's up,
obviously got to
fellas?
get things started. The obvious thing to do, the reason we're here. How the hell did you get a dive bar hat?
I mean, how the hell did it end up where it did? That's the. I think we got to start at the top of the story
Yeah, there you go.
that I still haven't heard yet. But you know, I know a little bit here. But how did this hat end up in Lost and Found?
So, my father and I are in a boat club in Fort Lauderdale.
Of course.
And before turning the boat in, we always have to gas up right by the yacht club, the Lauderdale Yacht Club, right?
Yep.
So, hat flies off. We do a couple laps, but you know, like right by that gas station, how busy the traffic
Yeah.
is over there. So I was like, dude, I'll get you another freaking hat. Let it
So,
go.
are you at the fuel dock or are you out in front of the?
I
yacht
was out
club
in the fuel
inside?
dock.
Okay.
So I did a couple circles. I was like, dude, I'm not jumping in to get this. Forget it. Don't worry about the hat. I got plenty. Whatever. Next thing you know, you find it in the Lost and Found. Which Lost and Found?
I'm a member of the Lauderdale Yacht Club, which sounds, we say LYC around our kids
Yep.
because
Mhm.
yacht club just sounds, as pretentious as it probably is. But we like to have a sense about us that we don't belong to a yacht club, even though we do. And we were going out in our boat and forgot the hat at home. And once in a while, I'm not proud of this, but you hit the Lost and Found once in a while if you need something. I'm not saying like use towels. I'm not saying perishables, for instance. We're just talking about like sunglasses and hats are reasonable things that you could probably borrow from a Lost and Found. So I went over there and there was like 2 hats, and this one's sitting there, and I'm kind of like, damn, that's a pretty cool hat. Like and it looked pretty new too. And I had no idea what it was. Because it has the dolphin on it, but it's not necessarily like over the top Miami Dolphins, even though it's the colors. And I'm like, I was trying to think of what bar I would know if there was a place called the Dive Bar in Fort Lauderdale. And I feel like there's something along the lines of that, but I'm like, I don't think so. So anyway, whatever, moved on, put the hat on, went about our way. And then actually my wife was like, that's a really cool hat. Like, where's that from? So we started Googling it. And that's when we realized that it was the podcast. So that's why we're here.
I'm mind blown. It's just
Where,
crazy.
so the hat must have. What I'd love to know, the missing part of the story is, how did the hat go from the water to the land?
Yeah, it sounds like it might be someone else's.
No, but what I'm thinking is somebody must have seen us struggling out there, and maybe they thought we were part of the LYC. My bad. And
Grabbed it?
must have just grabbed it and brought it inside and been like, "Hey guys, somebody just dropped this hat." Like, they're gonna probably be
I mean,
looking for it.
we don't have to get down to the bottom of this, but like, it's not like how many of these are in existence? Like what?
I would
Are we
say
sure that
somewhere
that's-
around the line of like 100.
Oh, okay. So there's a chance. like we mentioned a mutual friend, Bob Lafferty.
Yeah.
Does he have one of these hats?
No, actually, he thought because
You're like,
he
I
was
wouldn't
gonna-
gi- I wouldn't
No,
give him
he
one.
thought that because he was connecting us, he was going to get a free hat.
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
like, no,
okay.
brother, that's $40 plus $10
Classic
for
Bob.
shipping.
And
Thank
by the
you.
way, we didn't need you, Bob. We connected each other. It's 2025.
Hello.
You can find ways to connect. So,
I thought it was just like a funny story. In my mind, I'm like, well, Jeff's on the boat with like, because we've had players on here from the team, and we're just assumed that like you're out boating with like Tyreek Hill or like Blake.
Yeah. Me and Tyreek are out boating. That was your hypothesis.
Yeah, I swear.
Hey, he really did it. He goes,
Yeah.
he's playing with us. He's with somebody that has the hat. He just took the picture.
Yeah.
Just
No,
so you know, Ghost of Adam Gase, the name alone for Twitter, he's very into conspiracies.
yeah. Yes, exactly. I'd like to know the origin of your name, Ghost of Adam Gase.
Well, it's actually kind of a funny story that you bring it up now, and we'll get into everything that went down today. But the day that Adam Gase got fired was the day I started my Twitter account, and it was like I based it around like I would just comment on everything, people making fun of Adam Gase, and I would be commenting like as his ghost, and I'm gonna go haunt their spirit. So stupid, so stupid.
I know Adam very well, very well. Still, he's back in Fort Lauderdale.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, Jeff, before you go any further, I actually was able, because I have a buddy, mutual friend of Adam as well. I was actually able, we were at Billy's Tavern in Davie, and Adam Gase came and met Ghost of Adam Gase.
Yeah, we were chopping it up, took some pictures, talking about some
great.
football. It was awesome, dude.
good. Yeah, I know he's in a good place. He's
Yeah.
actually a really good dude. He but I'm sure you had a lot of fodder in those first couple of weeks. I mean, that was a great time to start that account. Like,
Yeah, it was a fun time.
Things
but-
went off the rails pretty quick there.
Yeah, and then just got into Dolphins Twitter and the community from there, and
That's pretty
whatever.
great.
But yeah, Adam, cool dude. Like we had a couple beers talking about great golfer, unbelievable,
Great golfer?
unbelievable golfer.
He's not a great golfer.
Oh,
Adam's not
so
a
he's
great-
cat.
Adam is a
Little
great
bit
golfer.
cat.
Adam is not a great golfer.
A little cap on this app.
Adam is a decent golfer. He's a
Just because you
decent
golf a
golfer.
lot doesn't make you a great golfer.
Yeah, he tries very hard.
Okay.
That's all I can say. He's
that's
a good
that's
guy.
how we talk about his tenure with the Dolphins.
We're actually, I would say we're probably almost dead even. We're probably the exact same.
So he's the best golfer in the world.
If I looked up his handicap right now, I bet
What's
we're
your
the same.
handicap?
I'm an 8 point something.
Oh, you're right. You're right with me. I'm an 8-1.
Yeah, I think I'm like an 8-1. Let's check. I'm an 8-3. So let's see what Gase is.
That was
See,
Bob.
there's the
Thinking,
app
hey,
that
I'm gonna
tells you all
get Bob Lafferty goes, oh, I'm gonna get you to go golfing with Jeff. I go, bro, he's coming on my podcast. I'll just ask him when I'm
Yeah, exactly. Bob, we don't need you, bro. Gase is an 8-7. So he's right in there.
Okay.
Same wheelhouse. His low is an 8-4. But anyway, yeah, no, he's great dude. I mean, great dude that's exaggeration.
Anyway, it was awesome that you made that post for us for no reason. You didn't have to do that. Hat sales have been through the roof this week, actually. So
They have
shout out
gone
to
through
you.
the roof.
It's a
Like,
great hat. I
is
mean,
this-
that's
I would
not
at
me.
least
That's
15%.
just a really good hat.
That's the coolest part about it is like I was just sitting there and I was like, Jeff Darlington Jeff Darlington. Okay, hold on. I opened it up and it was like, dude, like a portrait, beautiful man, just chiseled jawline, gassing us up. And I'm like, how much did you pay him for this? And dude, we went nuts, man. And then dude,
No, man.
everybody
The
loved
Chris
it.
Pat too. It's like brand new.
Yeah.
Great hat.
Dude, my dad literally had that hat for 3 days.
Yeah, see that it's got to be that, man. It's got to be.
And it
that
was
hat.
maybe a week before you.
Yeah, for sure. man.
Quality product too. Quality product.
Quality. What?
Quality.
So what do we got, guys? Are you? Let's talk some ball. I want you guys to.
Yeah. So first things first, I guess. Ross decided not to waste any time and drop a graphic announcing that he's running it back with everybody.
Yeah.
30 minutes after the game. So that makes me think that they already had this kind of decision made. I mean, you got that graphic in the drafts, and then you go get your ass kicked, and Tyreek asks for a trade, and you go, yeah, intern, still send that out. But nonetheless, I mean, are we surprised? Was there ever really a chance you think that they were going to make a move with Grier, McDaniel, anyone?
So I thought for a while that maybe Grier could be a little bit more on the hot seat. I came to find out pretty recently that was not the case. Like Mike wasn't even actually, the seat wasn't even really warm internally for him. I know that might catch people off guard because there was obviously a lot of chatter and still is. But and we can get into the nuance of that and why the team still believes in him and those types of things. I wondered about Grier. I didn't know how much the backup quarterback thing would kind of plague him.
Yep.
I think that's a pretty big hit. I don't think that's a great thing. And I think that the reason I say that is because a lot of times it takes, we play Monday morning quarterback and we're like, well, you should have had a backup. But there was a lot of talk even in training camp, like what's going on here? Why is there no backup quarterback plan? And that wasn't just externally, that was internally. So that felt like it kind of hurt the season pretty good. And obviously Chris came out and talked today and hit on some of that. But to answer your question, Mike, not the seat wasn't really even warm, quite honestly. And Chris, while I'm a little bit surprised that I don't know if surprised is the right word. I do wonder where this goes, but I understand the idea of seeing what they can do if they can just get through some of these injuries.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're all questioning too. It's just we can't get it all put together.
Yeah, it's tough to evaluate. I mean, and you could argue some of it, like what Chris was saying today about Tua and the injuries, and it's hard to gauge when he has those injuries. It's like, yeah, but like we know that. Like, how do you have? And this is probably my biggest criticism of the Dolphins this year. And I'm actually a glass half full guy, very much so. In fact, probably to a nauseating degree, because I do think that Chris has done good things. Like people were kind of knocking, like trading Laramie Tunsil. I saw something recently, but it's like one of the best trades the NFL has seen in the past, like given the collateral they got. But so generally I'm a half glass full, but the quarterback thing, like if you have a quarterback like that, like Patrick Mahomes has Carson Wentz as his backup. He's had Chad Henne, Matt Moore, like ideal backups that can enter a game and honestly, quite frankly, win a game. The Dolphins going into it, I think Mike thought Skylar Thompson was better than he was. That's probably where he erred in this. But if you're the general manager, to me, you've got to have, especially when you have the most vulnerable quarterback in the NFL, albeit talented, albeit accurate, you've got to have a plan for when he is inevitably missing time. And the Dolphins did not have a plan this year.
That's a perfect segue into where I wanted to go with that. Is we've been Dolphins fans for the longest time, and if you've been a Dolphins fan for at least 25 years, I mean, Jeff, we're watching the same movie, and especially if you condense this in the last 5 years, like the injuries, no backup quarterback, Tua goes down, we lose basically every single game, the offensive line issues, everything that you mentioned, and you were kind of saying like, you weren't sure if Grier was going to be in the hot seat or not, or what they were going to do with him. What's it realistically going to take for him to kind of win back this fan base? I mean, is it just straight up a playoff win or you're out, dude? Or can he do something this offseason, you think, to win back this fan base? I mean,
I don't think it's going to happen.
He did mention the offensive line. He did mention the offensive line for the first time in 5 years.
That's fine. I don't think you can do it in the offseason this time. I mean, you can certainly, create hope, but they're at the point now where they've got to just go and show what they've got. It's show, don't tell at this point. I think one of the frustrating parts probably for the fan base at this point is that like there did feel like there was so much hope. I mean, 2 seasons ago was so much fun, right? That was the year, wasn't it? Was that the year? I mean, that was a really fun season. It was electric. Like you felt like they got the coach right, that they that Grier even like after years of kind of being with the organization, people saying, why does he keep getting chances? It was like, this is why. There was cohesion. It made sense. It was fun. It was fast. And I think that it is still worth something that they're having winning seasons. I don't dismiss that. but with higher expectations come higher accountability. And I think that that's kind of where they stand right now. And that goes twofold. Like as probably you guys know, I'm a very big Mike McDaniel advocate.
Mm-hmm.
I've known him forever, and I've always thought that he could be capable in this role. And I think that he still is. One of the things that the team loves about Mike, that the owner loves about Mike, is that he is accountable and he is willing to change. And a lot of times that has gone the other way. Adam Gase, we talked about him, know him very well, stubborn at the end.
You can say it. You can say the F word.
But there's a lot of these coaches that go that route, and they're going to go down with their ship. Dude, even Cam Cameron went down with his ship.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he should have changed. He obviously should have changed, and wasn't willing. And Mike is very willing to change. How much is he willing to change? Obviously, the biggest thing going into this offseason is, can he become more of a disciplinarian? Because it definitely felt like the team sort of lost accountability. And he did not lose the locker room, but he's going to have to step in and be, and he kind of hinted at it today a little bit, the idea of guys being late being a problem. It's not easy to do when you want to be liked. There's a thin line between being a player's coach and a disciplinarian. And he's got to find a way to walk that, because this year you can't have those big personalities like Jalen Ramsey and Tyreek Hill and just try to be their friend. And I think that he probably knows that at this point.
All right, so now I'm depressed.
No, it's not.
So
I don't think that I think that there's still, I personally, like, for instance, think they absolutely should have kept Mike. I think that he is still capable of being a Super Bowl winning head coach. I truly do believe that.
what's your stance on Mike's play calling? Like at the end of the year, was that a personnel issue or?
Probably. I mean, you were talking with Tyler Huntley in the game. I mean, it's a totally different.
Not even just Tyler Huntley. You know, it's like the 3rd and 1 calls, or we were in the red zone a lot, and he just couldn't figure it out if we got inside the 5. It's just like, and I know he alluded to in his conference today. I mean, he did bring it up.
What did he say? I didn't see that part.
So he basically, he stated that, there's areas this offseason that we know have so much room to grow.
Yeah.
And it's the 3rd and 1s, like the short yardage plays are something that he knows that he has to get better at.
Yeah. I mean, again, that is a rare thing for a coach to say. And I think that should be appreciated, because he is willing to change and will put in the work to do that. I think that there are areas of improvement. I will also say, like, I'm not letting him off the hook, but he is a young head coach. And sometimes you do have to have patience and growing pains. One area where I would like to see Mike maybe, it's really hard to be the offensive genius where you go into the lab and you shut the door and you lock it and you just go into tunnel vision when you're a head coach. It doesn't work that well. You have to have either guys that you can delegate, like an Anthony Weaver, who is a leader of men and an excellent person for that, almost like a true assistant head coach, or you've just got to find someone who's capable of also works like your mind works. Kyle Shanahan had Mike as that guy for him. He would go in the lab and he would come up with these crazy plans. Now, Kyle did that to an extent as well, but he would then be able to be somewhat forward facing as the head coach in the building. I think that that's one thing that Mike is probably learning, is that, like, you have to find a way. You're not just a play caller anymore. You're not just an offensive coordinator. You have to delegate those things. Otherwise, everything, if you can't give 100% to anything, and instead it's like anything in life, right? Whether it's your family, your job, your recreation, your friends, like, if you start trying to give everybody the same amount, nothing is going to be good. And I think that that's where Mike's got to kind of figure out, I've got to find either the right people to delegate to. I've got to pick my spots. And I think that is something this offseason. If he can do that, It will improve his play calling. I think it'll improve the accountability within the building. That to me is probably the biggest need in terms of areas of improvement.
I'll add one thing to that, and then I'll ask you a question that you brought up.
Yeah.
Whoever the hell is in Mike's ear saying challenge that play, don't.
Great point.
He's out of here.
You got.
He's
Hey,
outta
listen, man.
here.
I don't know who it is, so I don't want to go over the top and get a text and find out it's my buddy. You never know. But dude, you're right. Like maybe that guy is good at some things, but it doesn't feel like it's that. And what's his record with challenges?
2 wins.
It's like 3-18.
I thought it was
2-18.
That's inexcusable. You can't, because you're burning timeouts when you do that. Those are the kind of things that like I think you can learn and I think you can change. Let's put it that way. So from a hope standpoint, I think those are things that are fixable.
Yeah. All right. So you brought up Weaver. That's a great point. Weaver definitely had a pretty solid first year, especially with some injuries on the defense. What he was given, he had a great unit, all things considered. I mean,
he did.
in the goes calm down. In some of the big games, they got steamrolled per usual, but that's big game Dolphins. But they didn't give up on that dude. They clearly wanted to play for Weaver. Ramsey had some glowing reviews about him in his exit interview. But is there any real legs to Weaver and landing a head coaching gig? And if so, what's next for the Dolphins? A lot of people, the popular name is Saleh because of the connections to McDaniel in San Francisco. But what do you think there?
I mean, I could see that. I think that Weaver will wind up still in Miami. I think he's one of those. He's going to get a head job eventually. I think that if he gets offers, say the Bears come to him pretty hard, the Dolphins could probably make it right and give him a pay bump and keep him around. I think he wants to be here. Certainly night and day different than Fangio, who couldn't get out fast enough. Weaver's very happy. Really enjoys working with Mike, loves South Florida. I would say he'd be hard pressed to leave. He doesn't have, a lot of times a coach, he's a former player. So not to say that money is not still important, but he doesn't just have to go jump at a head coaching job, from the standpoint that like he who can leave that much money on the table, even if you're going to coach the Carolina Panthers. He doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have that. He's got the financial freedom from his playing days to be able to kind of pick and choose. That said, if the Bears come at him and the Dolphins don't show the love, you want to feel like you're wanted. So I would say that the Dolphins do appreciate him. So I would imagine that barring a very clear, great offer from a team like the Bears, I would say that Weaver's still here next year.
Yeah, it's interesting that you use the Bears for your analogy because that's kind of our fear. Is like we don't really know. The Bears kind of always mess this up, but it's also not a desired destination. So we're kind of like worried, like they're not going to get their first choice,
right?
And they're going to go like Weaver, first-time head coach, leader of men. Let's just go with that route,
right?
And that's kind of our fear. It's like it kind of makes sense. Like I don't see
man, he'll win some people over too. He walks in that
for sure.
He's the kind of dude like he walks in and you love him. So.
Bro, that dude's smile is electric.
Dude,
electric.
The bald head and the smile and the big
the whole
glasses.
thing, the muscles, like the whole. It's just exhausting. I know Weaver a little bit here. I make sure to keep my wife at an arm's length.
It's all right, Jeff. That's how Bobby feels about me when I hang out in South Florida.
Anyway,
I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on it, and I think that all of you really want to touch on it now. And we've seen it all season, and he's very active on these Twitter streets as we are. Tyreek Hill situation. We got to touch on it. What are your thoughts?
I hated what he said. I don't often feel strongly about what people say. I couldn't stand what he said, quite honestly. From a guy who got rewarded this offseason when his contract wasn't even up, who's a really good teammate and a great guy in the community, who has defied a lot of the stereotypes against him during his time in Miami. And he gets that contract 5 months ago.
Quick.
Five months ago.
Yeah.
And then things go sideways. And even when he was talking in that press conference, or not press conference, but at his locker, even then, he even said, like, the reason why is our record what it is? Well, QB1 was out. And those 4 games really hurt. The team is in the playoffs. You cannot convince me otherwise if Tua was healthy.
I think we all agree.
And that's a massive if.
Or if we signed Snoop a lot earlier, in my opinion.
Sure. Or if you had a clear backup quarterback, even if it's better than Huntley, to your point, you can't run Mike McDaniel's offense off the streets. You can't do that. So yes.
People love to argue that too. They really think you can.
No, you absolutely, the best backup quarterback, like, honestly, the Dolphins should go find a left-handed quarterback who's really good and is really accurate, not really good and really accurate, just really accurate and is smart enough to understand Mike's system, and just put him in there. Like, get a backup that when Tua gets hurt, you don't have to change everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Tyreek. To me, it really bothersome. Emotions certainly play a part in it, and hopefully it's the type of thing where he finds a way to walk it back. If I was the team, I would have a really bad taste in my mouth after that situation.
Especially teammates. Like,
yeah,
if I'm his teammate, I'm pissed.
I think you're rolling your eyes for sure.
Yeah.
The idea that we have crushed many players for not entering a game. Mind you, it was the end of the season and they didn't seem like at that point they were going to win, but like, there's just no excuse for it. To me, that's like the cardinal sin, and that'll piss off a lot of people. And that's where I think that Mike is going to have to walk a pretty fine line, but I think he's going to have to put his foot down with him and be like, listen, man, I tried to do everything for you. And in a lot of ways, listen, he left Kansas City because he wanted the money. He was with the winning team. Yeah. If he wanted to win Super Bowls, he was in the right place. He wanted the money. So come down here, you get the money. You're going to have to fight through some adversity like this. That's the downside. And to me, it was a little disheartening as someone who, has a son who has a Tyreek Hill jersey, to try to explain to him why Tyreek wants to leave. It's just not a good message. It's not a good lesson. And I hope that Tyreek in some way at some point can make it right.
And I think
honestly, I think he will.
I hope so. I think it's perfectly fair, but like, do it. Like you said, he's very active on Twitter. He's very active. Like, instead he changed his profile picture to Antonio Brown.
Which, by the way, that was my doing.
It wasn't really?
Yeah.
Did you make the picture and then he took it?
Yeah.
By the way, that's
one
cool.
One of our buddies makes little memes for us and shit. And
that's great that he
sent it to me. He's like, or he sent it to our group. He goes, whoever wants to use it. And I happened to see it first. I was like, I am definitely this is hilarious. And he literally used that. Dude,
it's really funny. It's just like, if you expect him to walk it back, is that the way to do it?
No.
That to me is like, it's your job to be funny. On this day, it's not necessarily his job to be funny.
Yeah. Okay.
And I feel like I've got a pretty good sense of humor. I thought like, dude, he's just, that's a tough one, man. I just didn't like the way that ended for him.
And you take frustration over here, right? And just frustration after the game, and then you take moving forward. I think the most important question that everyone wants to know is like, are there actually legs to this? Like, you look at the cap situation, what his cap hit's going to be, who's going to take on that contract, where they can give you. Are there actual legs to this or no?
Yeah, I mean, listen, by the way, people will take on the contract, but if I'm the Dolphins, I'm not just giving him up and taking the cap hit on my end after I just gave him the contract before the season. Like, I'm going to make him suffer for that if that's really what goes down. Because guess what? If he hadn't done the deal in the offseason, you could have traded him and gotten really good collateral. I mean, you could have probably gotten a first-round pick from somebody. But under that contract, you're going to get less compensation, and it's going to be unfavorable to the Dolphins at that point. So if I'm them, I'm like, dude, you go chill. Like, we're going to figure this out. If Cleveland gives us a good offer, bye-bye. As Adam Gase would say, we'll send him to Siberia.
Jesus, dude, you gave me PTSD right there. Send him to Cleveland. You want out of here? We'll send you to Cleveland.
Yep.
All right, let's pivot from the Hill talk real quick. So you brought up Tua earlier, and I don't want to hear from Jeff, the reporter. I want to hear from Jeff, the fan of the Miami Dolphins. What's your honest opinion on Tua moving forward? And honestly, your opinion on how he was on the sideline during the Jets game.
This is actually, I'm always coming from a standpoint of a reporter, quite honestly. And, you know, I said on TV before the season plenty of times, I understood the situation. If it was me, I would have not done the deal before the season. I would have made him play out the deal and then negotiated. I didn't even think that if he was the MVP this year and won the Super Bowl, that you would have had to pay that much over what the Dolphins paid last offseason. Because the narrative would have been, can he do it in a different system other than Mike McDaniel's? His highest marketability and value is with the team that he is currently with.
Yeah.
He got a market deal, and that's what he was going to get, even if he came out and continued to, you know, have his best season of his career. That was still going to be the deal that he got, in my opinion. Maybe it's $5 million more a year. He's not going to go get $65 million. It wasn't going to happen. So for me, what's the benefit of signing him before the season? Good business, I'd say. He's a good teammate, so that's cool. But business is hard, and I think that that's the one thing that the Dolphins are learning. This regime is understanding now is like, we got to start making moves that are prudent. And because right now, you think Tua's getting that same deal coming into this offseason? There's no way.
No.
In fact, like, I could argue that the Dolphins would move on.
Yeah, we're at one hell of a crossroads then.
But I feel like they did that with everybody, right? Like, you re-signed everybody before we win a playoff win. Like, what are we doing here?
Giving Tyreek the deal and getting ahead of it, I was a fan of that deal at the time. I thought seeing everything that was happening with the wide receiver market and all the drama that was going on with Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb and all those guys, get out in front of it, because we know that Tyreek can be dramatic. You keep him happy by paying him what you're inevitably going to have to pay him. Cool. I don't think that they expected him 5 months later to do this. Tua, it's a different deal. You know what kind of teammate he is. You know how accurate he is, but you know that he's an injury liability. And that's harsh, but it's true. And Chris Grier even said that in his press conference today. He said Tua has to make himself more available. He's got to find a way to avoid those plays. And I think that was probably disheartening to anybody, including Tua fans, to see. I mean, I sat down with him and he's like, I got to make sure that I'm more available. That was on Monday Countdown. And a week later, he's going head first into a play again. And it's like, dude, cool. We get it. You're tough. You want to get that first down, but this team is completely different without you. And Grier needs to have a better plan. It can't just be that Tua needs to play smarter. You have to have a better backup. So like, everybody's got their hand in this. Mm-hmm. But I do think that they shouldn't have done the deal, if I'm being completely honest.
So you were thinking 50-year option there, like just play
out the 5th-year option. I mean, was Tua going to hold out? Maybe he was going to play. He was getting a little terse. Yeah. Maybe he would have held out, but and then it's there's a little bit of Monday morning quarterback, because if he had held out, we would have wondered what would have happened, but he didn't, because they gave him the deal and we saw what happened. I mean, you can't miss 4 games in that stretch. Go 0 for 4. Were they 0 for 4? Or did they win one?
They won one.
They won one.
You just, like, in that stretch, man, you can't be that set back and expect to make the playoffs. And
speaking on contracts, real quick, I just got to ask you this, and then we're going to take a fan question.
Yeah.
Who the hell let AVG out the building?
I know.
I don't forget Tua, forget Tyreek, forget Ramsey. Who the hell?
No, that's a knock too. I don't know, man. I take him over Ramsey.
Shaq
and
Barrett over
any
Shaq
of
Barrett.
those- Right. Any of those guys, any day. Yeah. No, that's a frustrating one, man. Like that's another one that, like, if I'm evaluating the GM spot, I certainly, if I'm Steve Ross, let's put it that way, that's a question. Like, why did we not sign him?
Yep.
I mean, the dude is a beast, and he's everything that you want in a defensive player.
Everything.
Yeah.
Young.
And,
All right,
and
so-
by the way, was he that expensive? Was he? I don't really know.
10 million,
offer
10
him.
million per.
No.
That's
We gave
don't think
Shaquille
he
Barrett
offered
what 8, 7.5,
yeah. That's a
and he
That's
never
tough
played
work,
it
man.
down. He's actually playing for Tampa right now. That's quite wild.
yeah.
Which I'm pro player, so like good for him, man. It's like
No, I don't care about that. It's
Yeah.
not about him. It's just
Yeah.
about it's honestly not even about acquiring him. It's about getting rid of Van Ginkel. It's just
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
yeah,
All right,
it's
so Dustfin has a good question here in the chat. Jeff, if you were named GM tomorrow, which I don't think you are, because
no.
Chris Grier, what's your first move, man? What's your first
Ooh,
move?
shit. Well, I mean, I am looking for my backup quarterback because they're not getting out of the Tua deal now. Like
Mm.
that's set. So I'm looking for my backup quarterback, and quite frankly, I'm looking for somebody who's going to compete with Tua. I don't care. Like, enough of that. I don't care about his feelings. I don't care about like that. That would be my mentality. I'd be like, I'm going into alpha mode. Like, enough of this bullshit where we're
Yep.
Mr. Nice Guy.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to find somebody who's going to try to take to his job. And if
Well,
he
let me
does,
ask you, just a little pivot. If we're talking like this, do we do it in the draft or do we go get somebody who's a free agent?
I don't know. I don't know what the free agency list looks like. Quite frankly, I don't even know what the draft looks like at this point. But it would be a priority. Like, I'm not worried about you spend a second round pick on a quarterback or something like that. Shit, you spend a first round pick on a quarterback because you love the guy. Okay. Like,
Jackson Dart's out there.
it's
Jackson Dart looks good.
it's tough because, like you said, you got to build the offensive line.
Yep.
And you want to protect the asset that you do have in Tua. So it's not that easy. I understand that. I'm just saying that, like, all of my energy would be, shifted toward obviously the backup quarterback, obviously the offensive line, but there is no way in hell I'm going into a season without a very clearly established backup quarterback. Is it Justin Fields? Like, would that make people happy? I don't know.
Well, that was suggested this offseason, and it started a world war on Twitter. So
Why
sure.
is that? Is that because people thought that he'd compete with Tua? Like, what's
No,
I
that?
could-
listen,
I could
people
give
are
you-
obsessed. There's a crowd on Twitter that is literally not even a Dolphin fan. They're just Tua fans.
Tua fans. Yeah, that's stupid.
The Alabama movement is real. I
But-
really
but-
feel it.
The facts are there, dude. I am an advocate for Tua. I think that he is amazing. The fact that he has the highest accuracy in the league this season, is that right?
Completion
Yeah.
percentage.
I mean, so look, cool. Defend him all day. Defend the person, defend the leader. You cannot defend the injury liability that is Tua Tagovailoa. You can't. The evidence is there. He had one season where
People do though.
how?
We got to
No,
bring
listen,
Chunky
man.
Tua back. Chunky Tua needs to come back, dude.
It's crazy out there in the streets.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
A lot of people, I like the idea of Justin Fields' athleticism and playmaking ability and being off script the same way I do Snoop. But a lot of people, this is the educated reason why.
Yeah.
He's not accurate. I don't know if his processor can really run a McDaniel offense.
Dude, I'm right there with you on that.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I was like, sort of like, I'm not saying that he's the answer, but is that like the type of guy that you're looking at, like a big name? Like, that's
I'd be intrigued.
the questions you got to ask yourself is like I said, like the idea of a left-handed passer. Like, I mean,
There's only two of them though.
who's the other one?
You also got
Penix.
Dylan Gabriel.
Penix?
You got Dylan Gabriel coming out.
Yeah, that's the guy. Go draft him. I don't know shit. I'm not saying I know anything, but that's the guy.
Fuck
That's
it.
him. What's his when's he gonna get picked? Like, what round? I don't dive into draft shit.
He's
until,
going to
like-
be at least third rounder now.
He's
Well,
he's
he-
looking like 3-4.
yeah.
He's 24 and he
Dude,
just
right?
got his ass kicked by Ohio State, so that's helping.
Yeah,
us.
that's perfect. That's good.
Yes.
That's good. His draft stock's down. You can get him with the 4th round pick. Perfect.
And he'll
Done.
fit in. He doesn't win big games. Like, it's perfect.
That's great.
And he's Hawaiian, so.
And he's Hawaiian. Are you kidding me?
No!
Dude, left-handed Hawaiian quarterback, no brainer.
Oh, God.
Your GM just made his first move.
I think he's right-handed, but still, nonetheless. The
Oh, wait,
rest
he's
of them-
right-handed? Is he right? Are you sure?
I thought he was
Yeah,
a lefty.
I'm pretty sure he's left-handed, dude.
Can we teach him to
Oh,
be?
is
No,
he?
he's definitely lefty.
Can we?
He's a
Okay,
lefty.
sweet. There you go. Boom, boom, boom. Jeff Darlington's
You
first
want to
move.
hear a great story? I don't know if I can share this.
Oh, you can share it.
Sure.
This is the dive bar, baby. What would you say at the dive bar?
Sure.
No, I'm just trying to think. I won't use the name. I won't use the name of the coach.
Oh, this is going to start chaos.
No, it's not. It's not. It's a very old story. It's about Tim Tebow. It just reminded me of this.
Oh, nice.
So Tebow's at Broncos practice, and he's throwing passes in practice, and one ball, left-handed quarterback, by the way, right? Tua? Or I mean, Tebow? Tebow is left-handed quarterback?
Don't mix those up.
Yeah, don't mix these up. Tebow, left-handed quarterback.
Yep.
So Tebow's throwing passes, and this one pass just, I mean, it's supposed to go to the middle of the field, and it might as well have hit the Broncos training facility.
Like shaking a drive.
And this assistant coach, just in front of the whole team, just screams over to Tebow, "Are you sure you're not right-handed?"
Yeah. And the bad part about that is if you can make that comment about Tua because he is right-handed.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
He calls right-handed.
But that's,
Oh,
I mean, Tua
man,
obviously is incredibly accurate. But listen, man, we could teach that Gabriel fella how to throw left-handed, and we're all set. So, I'm
Oh
in.
man.
That's the pick. But I think that would be my priority, and then I'd go figure out that offensive line and make sure
And then
that
just draft 3 guards.
draft 3 guards.
Yeah. So you've known McDaniel for like 15 years, maybe more now.
Yeah.
You once went to work with him at 2:24 a.m., which incredible segment, by the way. That was like the ultimate hype of the McDaniel era because it was like innovative. All the press conferences were still awesome.
Yeah.
It was like, dude, and you dropped that freaking segment like week 1 Sunday morning, and we were like, McDaniels is him. He's like a maniac. He's got a watch. Says this time. But like, dude, what could you tell us? Because we're at a crossroads, man. People are in, people are out.
Yeah.
What could you tell us about McDaniel that just like the average fan doesn't know, that kind of like have faith, have a little patience?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I do think that he is his authentic self, and I realize that in times of dire, when times are tough, it's a lot harder to look at a guy in joggers and a gold watch, and be all pumped up about it. And that's, but here's the deal: it's not fake. Like, that is who he is. So it's not like. I have friends that are even like, they loved it when he was winning, but when he's losing, they're like, can he lose that shit? And it's like, what do you want him to do? You want him to go to Nordstrom and like get some preppy shit? And that's just not who he is.
Yeah.
And he has always been that. Literally, you mentioned, I mean, I've known him for 15 years. He has always been that guy. He has it. He does. He has the ability to, he's a genius when it comes to play calling. He has to there are massive areas of improvement. Let me put it this way. He is a genius when it comes to game planning. He has to work on the in the moment execution, which is play calling. And I do think that it is okay. We talk about Ben Johnson. He was on the Dolphins staff, and I'm sure it's nauseating to people. Dan Campbell, these coaches, I mean, Mike will be the next one. I know that people don't want to accept that.
I said that last week.
You have to be careful with that. Ben Johnson was not ready to be Ben Johnson when he was with the Dolphins. He wasn't. Dan Campbell wasn't. He was the interim head coach of the Dolphins. So, these things happen. It takes development. And this is not a situation where, the stories coming out of New England with Jared Mayo. I know people think that maybe he should have gotten longer. There's a lot behind the scenes there that suggests that he shouldn't have. There's guys where you feel like it's obvious behind the scenes that this guy is not fit. I can tell you right now that I know front facing, there's a lot of questions about Mike right now. Behind the scenes, he is still doing all of the right things. He is accountable. He is reasonable. He is looking at people and giving them real answers. He is not coming close to losing the locker room. I know that there's like some high profile players that when you've got guys like Jalen Ramsey and Tyreek Hill, listen, man, like I have a tough time. If you're going to take someone at their word, look at the things that they've said about other people in the past as well and judge it off that. I'm just telling you, internally, quietly, people still believe that Mike McDaniel is the right guy for this job. And I know that's not a vote of confidence because a lot of people say whoever it is internally that's saying that are not making the right decisions. But I just think that Mike will go wind up being the next Ben Johnson somewhere else if you let him.
Literally last week, I told these guys, I said, that's my worst fear. Like, it doesn't work here. We fire him, and then we got to watch him go 20 years and wherever the hell. We're like, holy shit, we did it again.
I mean, look, dude, like that whole lineup, you know, the 49ers with Kyle Shanahan, like, I know there's a lot of 49ers fans that are getting tired of that. And it's like, you know, first class problems. It's hard, man. It's hard to win. And they were just in the Super Bowl. And
yeah, no shit.
And I'll tell you what, 49ers let Kyle go, there will be a lot of teams lining up for him. Mike Vrabel, shit.
Mike Vrabel, yeah.
I mean, same thing. But anyway, that tree of Shanahan, LaFleur, there people were calling for LaFleur's head. He worked through it, and now he's got the Packers in a pretty good place. And not perfect, but really good. And I think that that's the kind of coach that you can build on. And I think Mike is one of those guys.
I think keeping the topic with Mike McDaniel and if you can give us some clarity, because this is also a big topic on Dolphins Twitter, especially now knowing that Grier and McDaniel are coming back, and Grier was talking about his draft picks and focusing on the offensive line. Historically, Grier gets his offensive linemen second, third, later rounds, whatnot. But there's like kind of a debate where Grier is kind of this is the perception on Dolphins Twitter. This is, I'm not saying that this is how it is that Grier will never draft a guy unless the head coach endorses that position. Unless that head coach says, yes, I want this guy too, we're taking that guy. I look at it from the standpoint, like, I can't ever see Chris Grier saying, Mike, say like last year or 2 years ago, we need 2 offensive guards in this draft. Yeah. I'm taking 2 guards, and there's like, that's what I'm going to do. From your perspective and your access, is it? I think the worst answer for me right now would be it's a shared decision.
Yeah.
What's the kind of power dynamic in that war room, do you think?
I think that Grier believes that he is the person in charge of those picks and is making those picks. So it's a really interesting debate because when things are going really well, it's the first thing that we'll point toward is that there is cohesiveness, that the best GM is the one who, you know, picks the players that the coach wants. And he just goes out and finds those players that are going to fit the coach's system, those kind of things. I do believe that, I don't know, it's tough. It's tough to like, I mean, I hear a lot of things, but it's tough to know for sure without being in the war room, who's actually like, or in Chris Grier's head, because I think that he would benefit if he did. I like the idea of a GM being a coach's GM, build your roster for the head coach. But I do think, to your point, that you also have to have like, this is my guy, have conviction. And that's one of the things I think that is frustrating for a lot of people when it comes to Grier is that who can you really point toward and say that was a Grier guy? Mm-hmm. Is there, I mean, in all seriousness,
we don't know. That's why I'm asking.
We don't know. I think that's one of the most frustrating things about the Dolphins is I get that it's cool that they keep everything in house, but
that's not like that's not really an in-house thing though. That's more.
Well, I'll give you an example here, Jeff. I'll give you a perfect example. Howie Roseman. Those are Howie picks.
Yeah, like exactly.
Howie's picking that team.
That's
the
fair.
Dolphins. If there's a gun to my head, I have no idea who's making
right.
This pick.
That's a great example.
You know,
now,
it's
Howie is the
like,
extreme.
Howie guy.
But out in LA with Sean McVay, who's picking the players, Sean or Les?
That's a great
That's a
point.
McVay guy. That's a McVay.
Who's
pick
picking
right
the
there.
players in San Francisco, Kyle or John Lynch?
That's a Kyle pick. So you know it from these other teams, you know?
Yeah. It's a good question.
The only thing I've ever been sure of, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Devon Achane was a Mike McDaniel pick.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we were told that.
Right. Well, by the way, I mean, Debo Samuel was a Mike McDaniel pick in San Francisco.
Was he?
Oh wow.
Yeah. He went to
go.
Kyle. He found Debo and went to Kyle and said, I can turn this guy into a running back.
That's incredible.
Because he was the
That's
running
awesome.
backs coach. And that was one of those, but that's one of those ones that I use when I'm like, Mike can do this. Mike can evaluate players too, but you still can't do that all the time. Like you could do that with a nuanced player like Debo and say like, that fits what I'm trying to do. And that's cool, but it's still up to Chris to be like, I think the fact, to your point, that we don't really have a clear vision of what Chris, how he imposes himself. It's when the times are good, everybody will talk about how cohesive decisions are great. But when times are bad, you want to be like, well, shit, who took that guy?
Hey, I agree with this. These are absolutely group.
Yeah, right. It's true.
It's pretty crazy that Cam Smith was Chris Grier's son's roommate in college, and he comes to the team, and it's like you see stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the way, unfortunately, like Cam Smith, with the injuries and the way he panned out this year, he finally got some playing time, like his first significant playing time that he's had since being drafted. And you look at it, and he's like, is Chris Grier drafting this guy because he was his son's roommate? Like, these things kind of go in your head.
He said that in the press conference. He has high character. I think highly of him. He was my son's roommate.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll give Chris the benefit of the doubt there just because he's been in the league for so long that he wouldn't just go pick a dude for that reason. Like I'm sure in his head he's like, well, no, it's because I have more knowledge than anybody else.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably the thing that though I understand the most about the criticisms about Chris is like, well, where do we point toward the trade? By the way, there's some trades we can point toward. Like I said, the Laramie Tunsil trade. I
think he's a great trader.
Great trader. Yeah. I mean, that's
if
funny.
I had to guess, I would say McDaniel was pounding the table for Tyreek.
Yeah, he already said that. He came in.
He said that Chris came in the office and said, Tyreek, what do you think? And Mike was like, we can get Tyreek Hill. But that's cool. That's sort of the way I'm into that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
That's sort of the way it should operate. I think the question is less about like free agency because I think it's more about the draft, to your point. Like if you're a GM, scouting and all that is not something that the head coach is doing.
Right.
And I think that's where you build a team. So to your point, I mean, that's kind of where you have to live and die if you're a GM. And we should be able to point toward Chris and say, these are his picks.
Jeff, I wanted to shout out a couple of our members. They just, or a couple of our viewers, they just become members. Scar Wars, appreciate your service to us, and we appreciate serving you. Dustfin, giving the gifts that keeps on giving. That is Dustfin, the gift that keeps on giving. And then we had X Factor. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you guys tuning in.
A high-class production.
We love that.
Shit.
Yeah, high-class production.
Is this Eric? Is this Eric behind the scenes?
Yeah, that's Eric in the background.
Eric
That's our Jamie, baby.
Oh,
He's
That's
actually
pretty
very
good,
upset
man.
because we usually bring him on, but we're like, listen, guys, it's Jeff Darlington. We can't do 5 screens.
No, we can't. We
Well,
gotta let him spit hot fire, man.
Yeah, what we do want to do is we want to flip gears here, and this is something that we wanted to ask you the entire week. You got it.
All right, so you were recently involved in witnessing and reporting the infamous Scottie Scheffler.
Yeah.
during
Now we're
the,
talking. I don't have it.
championship.
I don't know what to tell you about Chris Grier, but I can tell you about Scottie Scheffler.
Let's go.
My brother. First of all, I'm sure I want you to elaborate on that, like how crazy that was being that early in the morning. It's just like one of those things. But not only that, I want to ask you, was that like one of your craziest reporting days?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, it's number one. No
Please
question.
elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, I actually just got into golf coverage this past year. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time, but you got to be patient with that kind of thing. With ESPN's a big place, and you don't just go in and say I want to cover golf. So this happened to be the first year that I got a shot at it, and I'd done the Masters. And I'd done some interviews along the way ahead of the Masters and the PGA Championship. Those were the two things that I was going to be covering. And I'd interviewed Scottie. So he also seems to be – a lot of those golfers are watchers of ESPN. They're just sports nerds. Like, they love sports. So there was some familiarity there for sure, where Scottie, at the very least, had seen me on ESPN. So – did I know Scottie before that day? No. Did we see each other and know who each other were? Yes. So I am showing up to the golf course at 6 a.m. because broadcast goes on at like 8, and I'm usually pretty early on assignment type stuff. And it was rainy that morning. There's a few other people from ESPN in this car going from the hotel. And the driver, it's like usually a young guy, like a production assistant at ESPN, who basically drives from the hotel to the course. So we're pulling down this road toward Valhalla. Is this dark road that goes down toward the entrance of Valhalla, and it's kind of closed off, and there's police everywhere. I'm like, what's going on? And someone says, yeah, there was an accident down the road. We're like, we got to get in, and this is like before the Valhalla entrance. They're like, players only right now. Keep that in mind. They said players only. And we're like, well, we're broadcasting it. Like, we got to be there to broadcast the event. And they're like, all right, go ahead. So they kind of let us through. So then there was another kind of at the entrance of Valhalla, where now seemingly the only people that would be there would be players and us. And that's where our car is like 3 behind this bus that's not moving. And we can't figure out why it's not moving. And a car behind us is like, well, shit, the entrance is right there, and I got to get into the entrance. So he kind of goes into this shoulder. Nothing wrong with it. Anything that any of us would have ever done. And a guy in a yellow jacket, raining out, dark, goes up and clearly doesn't like what he's doing. We don't know who the person is that's driving the car. Cop's getting upset. Car decides, no, I'm not going to put up with this. Just keeps driving. Probably, I'd say 20 yards tops. Can't really remember, but probably 20 yards. And cop just did not like it. Tries to like latch himself onto the door. I remember during all my coverage, I said what was the word I
Cops
used?
are wild sometimes.
What was the word I used? I used the word he attached. I said he attached himself to the door. And that was one of the things coming out of the coverage. People were like, what do you mean attached? And I'm like, I don't know what else to say. The dude wrapped his arm around the car and held on. Like, how else do I describe that? Like, attached. So, and then he kind of like fell off, and you could tell like it was almost like an ego thing at this point. He's pissed. So he gets up and just starts sprinting out of his car, has his flashlight, starts banging on the hood of the car. And by the way, at this point, still like, I don't know who's in that car, but that's shitty. Like, why is this cop so upset? Driver rolls down the window. Cop just reaches in, opens the door, pulls him out, and puts him up against the car. And the driver of our car, the PA, goes, dude, that's Scottie Scheffler. And we're just like, it's not Scottie Scheffler. He's like, no, that's Scottie Scheffler. And we look up, and I'm like, oh, shit, that's Scottie Scheffler. So I just immediately jump out of the car, go up with my camera. And that's kind of the way it all went down. I mean,
you guys close now?
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of that scene from like a Bruce Almighty scene where he's filming all the things, he's making all the things happen, and it's happening right in front of you, and you're the ESPN reporter.
Dude,
it's happening right in front of you.
I
You
still
couldn't pick up that camera fast enough, probably.
you know what? You know what's weird? Actually, I not really. It's a combination of like uncomfortable. It's not comfortable for me to walk up to like a police scene with my camera. I'm not the guy, like I'm not even the guy at the concert who's recording the artist. Yeah. It's not my jam. Like it's not who I am. But like in this moment, it just felt like this is important to document. Like what the like this
dude,
is
hey, I remember seeing it like that morning. I woke up and seeing it, catching up on everything. Dude, you stood your ground. You was in the mix, man. They were like trying to back you off, and you were like, whoa,
it got worse. Like it was not there was another time when I went around to the back of and I was kind of like talking to Scottie in the back of the patrol car, and the cop was like, "We told you you need to get to the other side of the street," and I'm like, "Or what?" Because now I'm like, "Oh shit!" It was one point where at least I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm the media, I can do what I want." Like, and I'm like, "Or what?" And they're like, "We're gonna arrest you for." I'm like, "What are you gonna arrest me for?" And they go,
Obstruction.
Obstruction, yeah.
It was interfering with the police investigation. I'm like,
Okay.
that hits.
That sounds important.
I'll head over there to the other side. And then I remember the cop like put his hand on my back. I'm like, "Don't you touch me." And he did it again. I'm like, "I said, don't touch me." I was getting real sassy with that guy. I was hoping that would have been on some of the body cam footage, but it didn't.
Dude, but how cool, like
watched.
as a golfer, are you more of like a fan of the pro golfers than you
Big
are
fan
being around the NFL guys? Like, is it a different vibe for you?
Yeah, yes. In a word, because I mean, to a degree, like I'm not in general, I don't really get starstruck in general.
Subtle flex.
No, I mean, it's just who I am, but yeah, flex.
Who you've been for 20 years. Yeah, we get it.
Yeah. But for sure, I think anytime that you see someone you're used to watching on TV, which like NFL players I've experienced in the 3-dimensional state plenty of times, but when you start to see these guys like in person, it's like, yeah, it's definitely different and cool. But in that moment, it was definitely more about like, I mean, it was just surreal. Like I still in my head, like I'm like, I can remember the moments. I remember him looking at me and being like, "Can you help me?" And I'm like, what is going on right now?
Scottie, that's wild. That's exactly how it looked too from home. Like from the home, it was like, dude, this is wild.
Pat McAfee asked me on his show, like, what took you so long? Because like to post the video. And I'm like, it wasn't like I just walked, it wasn't like that happened. And immediately I'm like, hit send on it. Like, first of all, I'm still part of the whole thing trying to figure out what is going on. He's in the back of the patrol car. I'm like, is he going to get let go? Like what happens next?
Yeah.
So, and then I'm standing on the side of the road after the patrol car pulls away and I'm like, okay, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Like I need to digest this and kind of figure out like, all right, journalistically, what do I say? Because it's also one of the weird things about, and it happened with Tyreek Hill too, less so because I witnessed Scottie. Tyreek, I was inside the stadium. When you're witnessing what you feel instinctively to be over-the-top policing, it's a weird feeling because I'm generally like, respect the police. No brainer. I don't really overthink it.
Yeah.
I'm not like waving my American flag, respect the police. So I'm like, respect the police. Like, cop walks up to you, you roll down the window and you talk to him and you respect him. Simple as that. So when you're witnessing something like that, you're like, this doesn't feel right, but there's no one else around me right now. There's not like Twitter to go on to see how I'm supposed to feel. It's like, this is all I'm going to now tell the country whether I think Scottie Scheffler should have gotten arrested or not. And I'm like, I can't do that. So I'm just going to tell you what I saw and you can decide.
That's great. That's perfect.
By the way, big Scottie fan.
Big Scottie fan. I will say that.
We have another one.
This is like, for me, the only time I've ever gotten starstruck from somebody, I own a glass company, so I do some glass work in the Bahamas. And my partner in the Bahamas gave me his tickets to the Hero World Challenge. And It was a Thursday where there's like 50 people watching the tournament. And I got to walk with Tiger and Justin Thomas for 18 holes. And the entire time, I'm looking at Tiger like he's God. And I'm like, why am I doing this? This is weird. But it's
for sure.
Like Tiger has an effect. Like
Tiger
you don't realize how big of stature Tiger is until you see him in person.
He does.
Like,
he sucks the air out of the room. There's guys that do that. Tiger is one of them. Michael Jordan is one of them. Tom Brady. I've been around Tom a lot. He sucks the air out of a room. Like he doesn't intimidate me as much, but like you feel it when he walks in a room. Like everybody just goes woof. But Tiger for sure is. I was at Augusta And I was kind of like in the clubhouse area, and all of a sudden you hear like the cleats, and it was just like coming down this narrow hallway. It was just ching, 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 ching. It sounded like a Russian army or something. Like it was just this like
Yeah, that
it was
just made me think of like gladiators.
yeah, it felt like that. It was down this hallway and obviously flanked by a bunch of people. And I like turned the corner and was not like expecting it to be Tiger. And it was just like it was
Are you
Tiger.
ever?
But like to the whole like Russian army thing, like ching ching ching, he has like people around him. Dude, I was like standing against the wall, like and afterwards you're like, what? Why did I just completely like turn into something? Like what just happened there? He's for sure one of those people.
You just brought up the Masters, and I want to talk about something. There's a very probably the most expensive football in the world behind you.
Yeah,
You care to talk about that?
200 and I think it was like I don't know.
That's a football from the Masters.
Yeah, it was a lot. I'll see here. See that.
I remember you and Pat McAfee had a little moment.
Yeah. That's right. That was from the pro shop.
Yeah,
that was my first time there. Yeah, no, I don't. It's kind of funny because it's like I don't know why you need a football from the Masters, but that's sort of what happens when you're in like buying stuff at Augusta. You're just like, I don't know why I need this lampshade with the map and flag on it, but might as well buy that.
Here we are. Yeah.
Yeah. You buy all
I don't know
sorts
why
of,
I need this football, but damn, it would
Where
look
is it?
good right next to Miami.
like I don't even know. Like I bought this last year.
Nice.
Well,
I mean,
listen,
I saw
for
stuff.
people who don't play golf,
Yeah.
Augusta is it.
It's
like-
Yeah, that's the Super Bowl,
yeah.
Like, come on.
but it's the
Place is
same venue
magical.
every year.
It's dude, it's better than the Super Bowl. I'll
It's
say it.
like every
Super
year I try
Bowl's-
to get tickets every year.
Yeah.
Like the little sign up or whatever on Augusta or whatever.
Keep trying, dude. It's worth it.
Oh, definitely, man. All right, so
So
let's pivot real quick. So last year in KC, you were actually stationed in a personal igloo. Eric,
Yes.
actually pull up the pic if you don't mind.
Come on, Eric.
Look at my
Yeah,
boy
dude.
right there.
There he
Stationed.
is. Look at that weather, though, dude. You got to look at that forecast.
Dude, that was incredible.
I don't think people really understand how cold it really was.
It was so
first
cold.
off, who came up with the igloo idea? And
Yeah,
then
it
was
secondly, please
I didn't even-
elaborate on how cold it was. Like people don't really realize how
Yeah,
cold it
I
was.
didn't even tell my producer that I was doing that. I bought it on Amazon the night before,
Oh, shit.
not
It was
like-
really you.
probably 2 nights before, and had it sent to my hotel in Kansas City. So it was like they were waiting when I checked in. I didn't know if I was going to do it. Like it was like kind of aggressive. And
That was awesome.
I also didn't know like what it was going to kind of look like. It basically, apparently this is what, as Florida people, we don't really deal with this, but like this is what people like soccer moms buy in like the Midwest to watch their
Dang,
kids'
dude.
games, which is like, why do you live there if that's what you have to do? So, I pull it out though, and I set it up, and I'm like, I probably got to do this. But the funny thing is, I had a space heater too. Like I was legit doing it. Like I had a space heater in there, and I had propane gas. And I was in there getting ready to do my live shot, and I'm like, shit, I'm kind of getting dizzy.
Oh, shit.
This is gonna be bad if I like pass out from like noxious fumes during this live shot. But so I like vented it a little bit. But they didn't know. Usually, like in between the break, like they'll check in with us. It was Sam Ponder at the time. And the crew will usually see you, like Rex and Randy, and you'll say hello to them. Make sure you establish that you can talk to them, they can talk to you. But the control room didn't want to ruin the surprise, so they had like a blank screen. So when I came up in that thing, it was like a, just a natural reaction. But dude, it was so cold. The after the game, I had to go back out and do a live shot, or not a live shot, just like a taped thing for the next morning. And everybody's gone, and now it's like wind chill, like negative 40 degrees. It's the coldest it's been all day. And I'm standing with a camera guy, audio tech, and my producer, and nothing's even really working well at this point. It's so cold. So we're standing in the tunnel, and we're basically like, all right, run out there, set your camera up. I will talk whatever I say we're using. We run back in. Like, I mean, we literally could stay out there for 45 seconds without it being like just unbearably cold.
Sheesh, bro.
Yeah.
So speaking of your amazing career that you've had, I did see a little something, and I need to hear about this hog hunting story with Channing Crowder that helped you get hired
Yeah, dude.
over at the Orlando Sentinel.
You did some digging.
We dig.
Yeah, dude. So are you guys familiar with Channing? Have you had Channing on your
Yeah,
show?
no, we haven't had Channing yet, but Channing seems like a great guy.
But if you got the connection,
Yeah, I got the connect. I'll hook you
oh,
up.
pull him
Let's
over.
go.
Let's go.
Channing was probably like one of the very first people that I like covered. Basically, he was a little younger, so like Rex Grossman was the first, but that I really like knew. And but so Channing was a sophomore. He's like working at a car wash or something at University of Florida during his injury redshirt year. And there were two guys, Brian Crum and Channing, who somebody told me go hog hunting. So I basically went to Brian Crum. He was like the hot shot recruit. No one knew who Channing was. And Brian Crum's like, yeah, whatever. He like kind of blew me off. I went to Channing and Channing's like, yeah, dude, I go hog hunting. Let's go. So he picks me up in like his girlfriend's car that was all like smashed up. And I'm like, dude, what happened to the door? I can't even open it. He's like, yeah, don't worry about that. And so we go out into the woods and dude, he's chasing hogs. And we brought a Gators t-shirt and he like wrapped them around the hogs. And I mean, it's some of the wildest shit. And I'm probably my fourth year and I'm like stringing for the Orlando Sentinel. I'm basically a correspondent for the Orlando Sentinel. And I tell them that I'm going to do the story and they're like, oh, okay. So they send a photographer and we run the story. And it's this big picture on the front page of the Orlando Sentinel. They're playing the Arizona Razorbacks or Arkansas Razorbacks. And he's diving at the back of this hog's legs. And you're not allowed, UF media policies that you're not allowed to go off campus with players.
Oh, wow.
So Ron Zook, the head coach at the time, is so pissed at Channing, at me. He makes Channing sit next to him on the flight home. They put like a gag order on him where he's not allowed to talk to the media. All the other reporters are pissed at me for breaking the rule. Like it was the stupidest thing in the world. But the story was awesome. It was like to this day, like my favorite story. I remember it was like, so it ran in the Orlando Sentinel, whatever. He kind of blew up that year, actually. And I ended up I covered every game that Channing played at Florida. He got drafted by the Dolphins. A month later, I got hired by the Palm Beach Post. Complete coincidence to cover the Dolphins. So I covered every single one of Channing's college and professional games during his career.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say you got the connection. So if we don't get him, we'll know who to blame.
Yeah. Yeah, I was there for all of his legal ramifications when the police report said he permanently disfigured the person that he got in the fight with. Permanently disfigured.
That's the kind of people Grier needs to draft, man.
Right, dogs. That's what I said.
need a couple of them,
Like,
dude.
that's your guy.
Like that's
a
such an
third-round
easy
pick.
evaluation. Dismembered man's face, second round
Dude,
draft.
he was so cool. He was the best. Other than that,
There was. I know. I'm only thinking of this, and I'm only butting in because I knew I was going to forget it, and I really wanted to ask you it. And we're talking about golf. We're talking about players. We're talking about Grier guys. Is Javon Holland going to be a Dolphin next year? I get asked that question like 4 times a day on Twitter, and somebody told me to ask Jeff Darlington if Javon Holland's going to be a Dolphin.
I don't have that goods for you. I'll try to see what I can do.
You don't got anything? Nothing.
I literally have nothing on it. I'll see if I can find something out for you.
Yeah, that's
Get
a
you
big
some
question
scoop.
right now.
Well, we're
Sorry,
pushing.
I had to add that. I was thinking like Grier
I'll find
players,
out.
golfers. Yeah,
I'll find out.
Hey, his,
We're pushing up.
his swing looks good.
looks
Really?
Yeah, it looks a lot better. Yeah,
All right.
100%.
All right, I'll check it out. I'll find out. I'll get you the goods.
We're pushing over an hour here, Jeff. So we do want to wrap up with you. We appreciate your time, man. You've been awesome. The chat has loved you. Obviously, South Florida royalty, in my opinion. But
No shit.
they want your Super Bowl prediction and your college football championship prediction, and then to wrap up, we need to see that spin. We need to see this.
Okay.
Dangy dangy, baby.
I
Bangy
think
dangy.
Bangy Dangy.
Come
Bangy
on.
dangy, baby.
Let's go. Dude, you know that's been like 20 years. I think the Bangy. Well, no, the Bangy Dangy was like 15 years ago. Do you know about the Bangy Dangy? You guys know?
Yeah,
about the Bangy Dangy?
we know about the Bangy Dangy.
About
We
the
know
party.
we don't know. Go tell a story by all
We
means.
need you to tell the story. We may have done some homework, but I still
Oh,
need
you
the
did?
story in
Okay.
person.
No, so back in the day, I don't know when it was, but it was a window when I was single in South Florida for like 3 years before I met my wife.
A window.
And my wife, even Shakira, she's fine with this because we joke about it. But one time I was like, man, when I was 25, that was like the best year of my life. She's like, we met when I was 20, when you were 26. And I was like,
That's how it goes.
Yeah. So Joe Rose is on the radio. He's like, dude, I hear you. We're on the radio. And he's like, I heard you living in Fort Lauderdale with like 4 dudes and like you guys party all the time. And I'm like, yeah, that's all accurate. And he's like, we should have a party at your house. I'm like, dude, anytime. So every time I'm on, he's like, when are we going to have that party? I'm like, Joe, name the date. Let's do it. He's like, what if we have Bud Light Lime sponsor it? Because Bud Light Lime was like his show sponsor at the time. He's like, we'll call it the Bud Light Lime Bangy Dangy. And I'm like, let's do it. So we, dude, I hired 2 bands. I had porta potties moved in. We had like ice. We did like,
damn.
So
That's insane.
so the day of the party, sure as shit, a trailer out front, swear to God, Budweiser across the side of it. Guys with dollies just bringing in cases of Bud Light Lime and all different shit, which god awful beer, but we appreciate the sponsorship. So they're wheeling on all the beer. Joe comes over like an hour later and he's got his kids with him who are young at the time, 15 years ago, who are now like adults. I was actually talking to his son about this recently. And he comes in straight out of old school. He walks through the door and his kids walk in behind him. And one of his kids holding like a magnum of Grey Goose. And he's like, they're bringing in more booze. And he's like looking at the booze like, bro, this isn't enough. This is not enough. So I'm like, I think this is going to do. This is pretty good, Joe. And I was like being serious. Like, we got some other stuff. He's like, So I get a call like an hour later and he's like, hey, can you be at Total Wine in Fort Lauderdale in the next like hour? And I'm like, sure. He's like, you have a pickup truck? And I'm like, yeah. So I pull up and there's these guys that wheel out 3 more kegs, throw in the back. Jeez. So, dude, that's probably where the story ends. But I don't even know what to say. The party lived up to the hype. Like, dude, there were cars. Joe said when he pulled up, he was like not knowing what to expect. But this was in like the days of MySpace, and the roommate I had went on MySpace and basically invited every woman from Hollywood, Florida to this party. And they came.
And they ended up showing up.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah. But that was great. And so me and Joe still joke about it. His son showed up to the party having no idea that his dad was even involved in it. It was like one of his older kid or whatever, Garen. And he looked at Joe and he's like, hey, you got to go. You can't be here. And Joe's like, this is my party. He's like, no, you got to go.
Boys, look who the cat drug in.
Mo sausage, baby. Listen, this guy was on the Tyreek Hill trade before anyone was on the Tyreek Hill trade. He was talking about it in Spaces. You know about Twitter Spaces?
Yeah, dude. That's funny.
It's the Towel Boys' assistants, friends, dog's brother. He knew everybody.
He knew.
That's funny, man.
Was getting his oil changed, and his cousin's nephew told him, he's like, dude, it's basically
going to get changed.
Where's he going? You didn't give the spinning. We need the master spinner story here.
I don't know. Where do you want me to spin something?
Yeah, I feel like, so for everybody that doesn't know, Jeff's party trick is he can spin literally anything that's flat.
Anything that's flat.
Anything with centrifugal motion.
He said, what does that mean, Jeff?
Oh, this is a picture of Louis Riddick that I put on there because Louis Riddick hates when I spin stuff.
Big name on the timeline right now, by the way.
Pull that connection.
He hates when I spin stuff on TV.
So spinning him would be paying homage.
So I put his face on there and on TV, spun it. So
come on.
For some reason in high school, I started spinning textbooks.
He's just telling the story.
And I don't know why I realized that I could just do it. But for years, like for probably like, I don't know, 20 years. It would just be like a party trick. Like I would just do it when I was out with my friends. And then one day I did it and posted a video on Twitter and was like, everybody's like, can you do that on TV? And then so I did.
Dude, I remember the TV. You were running around. You grabbed the couch cushion.
Couch cushion. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, anything. I don't really have anything else around right now, but I don't know. Probably some shit here.
You're
somewhere.
good. You proved yourself.
I think we're good with the plaque. I think
the
the plaque picture is good.
The Lewis Riddick plaque. All right, we're gonna get out of here. But college and NFL Super Bowl predictions from
that's
Darlington.
Right. Oh, I definitely don't know college. I'm a moron with college. Surprisingly dumb with sports, guys. But NFL.
So am I, don't worry.
I'm gonna go. I haven't made this pick yet. I was gonna say Lions. I'm gonna go Lions, Chiefs. Lions win it.
Ooh.
I would love, I would like the Lions to win because it's like, kind of can live vicariously through them. Just watching that franchise parallel ours.
No, it's a fun. Oh, you're saying compared to the Dolphins? No.
Yeah, just two cursed franchises. One's got to break the chains.
Yeah. You're right. And dude, it can happen quick, man. I mean, I think that a lot of Dolphins fans felt like that was what was happening. Just got to stay healthy.
Just so we're clear on this podcast, I predicted us going 16-1 in the beginning of the season.
16-1.
All
that's
a
not
little
a good look
aggressive
for me. I've been getting dogged.
It's a little aggressive.
You said you're half full. I'm full, brother.
Yeah, you're full. So how do you feel right now?
So I obviously Monday quarterback. I'm Mr. Fuck everybody. I cannot believe it. We didn't go to the Super Bowl. But in retrospect, if you have to see it from an honest lens, again, we were hindered by injuries. I mean, there's like, you can't predict this shit.
So I was just, it's funny. I'm with you on that, but I was just thinking about it and I'm like, dude, the Lions are getting crushed by injuries. I mean,
22.
their best defensive players out.
22 IR trips for the Lions right now.
It's like, I mean, the Chiefs are, I mean, you can argue with the Chiefs, it's Patrick Mahomes, but like Jared Goff, who I adore, I love the guy. Like he's more he's not Patrick Mahomes. So he's doing it. The defense is figuring it out. They're playing. They don't have Aiden Hutchinson, and the defense looked unstoppable the other day. So
they embarrassed the Minnesota Vikings.
I think the depth. The Dolphins out. To me, the Dolphins have to find a way to be deeper, and also I also do believe. I almost felt cheap last year saying it, but I do believe it. It feels like such a elementary narrative, but the idea of being able to play in cold, I do think matters. And I think it's like, you have to have bigger, tougher players to do that. You can't be relying on finesse and timing in -4 degrees. You can't.
Yep.
And I don't think I think the Dolphins need to address that too. Some of these other teams that can make playoff runs, that like the Lions, they're going to grit that shit out. And I don't think of grit. The Dolphins need to find more grit.
And they even lost their gritty running back, and look at what Jahmyr Gibbs is doing.
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, that becomes about blocking though too. You got to get that. To me, that's where it all happens. Like you got to get those dogs up front.
They got Dan Skipper coming in as a 6'0" lineman, just knocking safeties' heads off. Like what a luxury.
You'd have to. You really do have to go when you go to the combine this year. You just got to look for like these, just badass corn-fed.
There was this one kid last year. Was it North Dakota State he was from? I believe the offensive lineman.
Because the kid with the mullet, he's missing a tooth.
The mullet, he's hitting his helmet on his fucking forehead.
How'd he turn out?
I'm looking for.
How'd that guy turn out?
I don't even know where he's at.
I don't even remember his name, to be honest. But I just like that.
But that's what you want. Just that kind of shit. I'm with you though. Like you've got to have guys that are maybe not the helmet and the head thing, because that's kind of like what we're doing. But yeah, it's fine.
Definitely not too.
Setting the tone, Jeff. We're setting the tone.
Setting the tone.
All right, well, hour 25 minutes with Emmy award-winning Jeff Darlington. Man, we can't thank you enough for your time.
Boys. Thanks for
what
that.
A stroke of luck for us for a hat to bring you here. And we hope
Jeff, you like bourbon?
Well, I love bourbon, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna send you one of these bad boys.
Oh, that's good. I like that cup. I'll use that.
Yeah,
All right,
just DM
perfect.
us a
Fire
address
logo,
to send
boys.
you whatever. We'll get you a
Keep,
gift card over there.
keep doing what you guys are doing. It's a good show. You guys are
Appreciate it, man.
doing a good job.
Thanks so much, Jeff. I appreciate that. And we can't wait to have you back on, right?
Yeah, and you guys should do. You should. How much do you know about other teams?
So
Everything.
hold on. So side story. I know we've been
Here
on
we
for a
go.
while.
Here we go.
You shouldn't have asked the
So-
question, Jeff. We're trying to get you off here, dude.
I know,
It's
but this is
going
a
too
good. It's a good question. It's something that we're trying to tackle this offseason because one of our good friends, one of my best buds, is Nick Hicks over at Perform,
Yeah,
and I really want to start cracking into like the hometown kids that went elsewhere, like Zay Flowers. Like I'm friends
That's a
with
good way
him.
to
And
segue
I
into.
feel like that's a good segue. Is I really want us to try to get some players from other teams that are maybe South Florida-based kids that
Yeah.
went elsewhere.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, expand, man. I mean, the Dolphins thing is great, but keep going.
I think that's
Yeah.
why we made our logo as discreetly Dolphins as possible to
No, it's
kind of
cool.
like pull a chair up to the dive bar vibe, you know?
Yeah, no, it's good. I like it, man.
That's also why we got Jeff Darlington on board, national reporter. He could pull us,
Hell yeah,
you
good
know,
logo.
yes,
I got
all
you.
year round. Cannon Crowder,
You need
Louis
Patty Mahomes,
Riddick.
we'll get him. No.
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
one thing you'll learn about Bobby Schaus, he's the head recruiter.
Yeah, I like
Dude,
it.
hey, you've been talking to me this whole time, man. I always shoot my shot with everybody. It's
all
actually
good.
funny. Last thing I'll say,
Yeah.
when we started this, you were like the fifth person I DM'd just randomly. But I heard you say one time
Fifth?
that you had
Damn,
Fucking
you
good
give him the
story?
fifth
This
spot.
is a good story? Dude, you just lie to me. Just be like, you were the first one.
well,
Go ahead.
Tyreek Hill was our third episode.
Oh, was he?
Yes.
Dude,
Yeah.
do you know how we landed Tyreek?
No.
So Tyreek posted a freestyle on Twitter in the kitchen with his wife, right? And I stupidly commented, "Hey, brother, if you ever want to come on the dive bar, I'll hit you with a second verse." And he actually responded saying, "I'm going to put that pressure on you." And I actually freestyled
That's
for him.
awesome.
We had him a
It was
week
it was
later.
awesome.
Very cool. Well, the time is now.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
I
Get back
DM'd
on.
you and you didn't reply, of course.
Yeah,
But one time
definitely.
I heard you say that you had 45,000 unread messages. So I don't feel so
Yeah,
bad.
no, I'm not good at that. Some mom down the street asked me today. She was like, "Hey, I sent you an email about my daughter who's in broadcast." I'm like, "Yeah, sorry, I didn't."
Oh man.
That's got to be
I'm
the
sure
worst
she's gonna
thing.
do
The
great. I'm sure
first
she's gonna do
hand,
great.
my kid's going to be a star.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All
she's gonna
right,
do great.
Eric. We're ready to wrap it up, buddy.
All right. Thanks, boys.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks so much, Jeff.
All right.
Appreciate you.